What's good, everybody? I'm staying here with Commanding General Yohanna. What's going on at the school of I.S.U.P.K.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love that acronym.
Thank you. Tell me,
how you doing, party boy?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Maintain.
We back in it, man.
Yeah.
Big shout to the Bronx, New York, in the building. You know?
Castle Hill, never ran, never will. You know?
Come on, hold on. Run that back one. Run that back one. What you just say?
Castle Hill was one of the projects on the east side. I grew up there.
Word.
Yeah, we had a motto: never ran and we never will.
I like that motto. I like that motto. See, I'm from up north as well, Baltimore City to be exact. And it seems like us cats from up north, we seem to get along a lot because we done been through similar things.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna take that slogan with me. I'm gonna take a little bit of you with me. You know what I'm saying? Run it by me one time. What is that? Is
Castle Hill.
Castle Hill.
Never ran.
Never ran.
Never will.
Never will. Now, if y'all heard me say that, I got that from Commanding General Yohanna. You know what I'm saying?
Thursday, March 30th, it's going down, the annual I.S.U.P.K. under Commanding General Yohanna's all-black party at the Durham Armory. Doors open at 8 p.m. featuring live music, open bar, wine, and beer. We got DJ Party Boy in the mix, man. Tickets are available on ticketspice.com. 25 pre-sale tickets, 30 at the door. Ladies, y'all free until 11 p.m. Need y'all in the building, man, for Commanding General Yohanna's all-black party at the Durham Armory. Thursday, March 30th. It's going down. Doors open at 8 p.m. featuring live music. The annual I.S.U.P.K. under Commanding General Yohanna.
Could you explain to me what you guys represent and actually what I.S.U.P.K. stands for?
Okay, let me tell you. First of all, I.S.U.P.K. is an acronym for the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. And we are a non-profit organization. We're worldwide now. We started out in 1969. And we dedicated our lives to waking up blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians to their true heritage. And we found out through strenuous research that blacks in America, West Indians, Latinos, are in fact descendants of the 12 lost tribes of the children of Israel. And in fact that the Bible, as hard as it's appealing as it is to swallow, that the Bible is actually a black man's book. That everybody in the Bible is black. Well, if you go in Revelation, the first chapter, it tells you that Jesus Christ had skin that was burnished brass. It tells you that in Jeremiah said in several places that the Jews were black. Daniel, the revelator, one of the prophets of the Lord, described what Jesus Christ looked like. And he said specifically in Daniel 10:5-6 that his arms and his feet were like in color. Use the word color to polished brass. They like to tell us that color is not in the Bible, that Jesus had no color.
They also said something about hair like wool, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I see you on your game. You know what I'm saying? That's right. That's tight, brother. Like the scriptures tell you that he had woolly hair. And it also said that God had woolly hair. That's in them scriptures, and that's been hidden from us for many, many years. Part of the entire white supremacy that have kept us down. And it's so sad in that if anybody needs to be motivated in 2022, 2023, it's black men.
Black men.
You know what I mean? If you want to motivate brothers to not become drug dealers, murderers, killers, rapists, you understand, and basically join part of the criminal element that's been handed down to us, then you need to give them some motivation. And what greater motivation than to find out that the baddest man that ever walked the face of the earth, Jesus Christ, Yahushua in the Hebrew, was a brother. I mean, that just got me off my, that knocked almost all the Bronx out of me. You know what I'm saying? I had to step off from the world and realize that there was great men in the biblical story.
And you see, that's what they're afraid of. I'm going to say our oppressors. I'm not even going to put a color on it.
I understand.
I'm not even going to put a color on it, but our oppressors do not want us to know our true foundation and what we are capable of. If they knew that the man that, like you said, one of the baddest men that ever walked this planet was a black man, what would they have over us? Nothing. You know? So at the end of the day, to continue oppressing us, they have to push a fake narrative.
Boom.
You know
what I mean? Which is, what you just said is such gold, brother. And it's going to save so many lives. Prior to me learning about this, I didn't think black people was nothing. I thought what everybody else thought. That black people was the worst. They never could be helped. Nothing you could do for them. Mm-hmm. Get away from them. Get you a white girl. Mm-hmm. Join the other side.
Somebody else to do it.
You know what I'm saying? Until I found out and started realizing and reading and learning that these were great black men, great black sisters, great people that went through strenuous things to deliver us. A black man by the name of Moses walked 600,000 people out of the greatest captivity on the face of the earth with the power of God, Moses. So when you start to really see what they did, and we're not talking, hocus pocus religion, we're talking a historical biblical book. The Bible is just as much, if not more, history than it is spirituality and religion. But if you a person that just can't handle spirituality on that level, you certainly can handle history. Anybody can. And when you go back and read the history, you see something amazing. I had to get on a plane. I had to go all the way to Egypt because I said I'm not taking nobody's word for it. Mm-hmm. I had to walk them pyramids myself. I had to walk them temples myself. And I was floored to walk in there and see slaves working in the field on 4,000-year-old temple walls. And these are brothers. And I'm talking brothers with afros. Brothers with braids in their hair. Brothers look just like you sitting there. You look just like Kephren. You look just like Joseph. You understand? All you need is a robe and a scroll in front of you, and you look like any one of them brothers. And I was shocked to see it. And
that had to be amazing.
It was amazing to me. You know what I mean? And then to read it and to know it and to know these things happen, really in history says something else, that it can happen again. That we don't have to be the people that they made us out to be. We don't have to be criminals, man. We don't have to live this life. We don't have to be drug dealers. I sat in the projects, man, as a young man and watched thousands of brothers die for absolutely nothing.
That's why I salute what y'all are doing, because you're prophesizing black excellence. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I really like that. I love that. I love that. You know what I mean? And so I want to talk about a few black men that people may have heard of and seen, and maybe they have spoken on things pertaining to Hebrews and Israelites, and they've been ostracized by society based off of that. And I want to speak on Kanye West and Kyrie Irving. Actually, to be exact, what does the I.S.U.P.K think about the recent events involving celebrities like Kyrie Irving and Kanye West after they exposed that they are Israelites?
Man, I'm so glad you asked that question, brother.
Word.
Because in this modern time, that is an excellent question. The question is, the thing to look at is simply this. Why was it that society went crazy because a black man decided to say he's a Jew? Why did the world go crazy because a black man recommended a movie that said blacks in America are Jews?
It's some truth in that, because we've forgotten who we are. We are forgotten people. You know what I'm saying? When I say forgotten people, I mean we don't know who we are. We probably the only race that is not operating off of our lineage.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. You are absolutely right. You look at every single nation around the world, every single nation on this earth can tell you where their historical roots are, except for one. And that's blacks in America.
That's because they don't want us to know where our roots are, because if we knew, what would we do?
Exactly. We would find our way back out of it. And again, why did they go so crazy over that? I thought this was America. I thought you had the freedom of religion. I thought you could be whatever religion you want. I thought you could wake up. They saying in school that if your son or your daughter decides they want to be what is it called? A Furby? A Pharaoh? What's that thing?
What's that?
What they believe there's a dog?
What they believe they're an animal? What they
believe?
And they said that the teachers cannot tell them that they're not. The teacher can't deny them their identity. So your kid can go to school and start barking his answers. And the teacher can't deny him. The teacher has to accept him for what he is. Meanwhile, if you Kanye West and you come out and say that we are Jews,
as a black barber, as a African American, as a blood of Christ, as a Hebrew, see, I'm telling y'all what it is, right? Mom was born into a drinking fountain. They told her what fountain she could drink out of.
Okay.
Now we born into a vote. They literally call it the black vote.
Yeah.
And by the way, we blood of Christ. We blood of Moses.
Right.
We're not just a color in a crayon box. And if we knew that, who we really were, we'd treat each other differently. We'd treat ourselves differently.
J.P. Morgan's going to confiscate $75 million of your money without any court order. Why? Because black people and Latino people should get a lesson from this. We should seriously look into our history. Really find out, well, who are we before we got here? And if you do the research we did, people would find out that we are those lost 12 tribes. And that all of this is for a period of time. The exact same slavery we suffered in ancient Egypt that's written in the Bible in the book of Exodus is the exact same slavery we suffered again here in America. Matter of fact, slavery's in the Bible. Can I read a quick scripture for you? Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter and the 68th verse. This is a scripture, man, that is never taught in church. It's never brought out. It's never expounded on. It's never looked at. But it is profound, this scripture right here. Now, this is Moses speaking to the children of Israel after they exited Egypt. Now, they're out of Egypt. They're in the wilderness. Moses gave us a warning. He said, if you don't do what God says, this is going to happen to you. And this is one of the things that he said would happen. Go ahead and read it.
Deuteronomy 28 and 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
He said, I shall bring you into Egypt again. We in Egypt again. We back in the same suffering we suffered 4,000 years ago. Go ahead.
With ships.
With ships. Now tell me of any other slavery on this earth that took place on the level of the transatlantic slave trade, which was done by ships. This is biblical prophecy. Read on.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
This is interesting. He said, by the way, where I spoke on you, meaning through that wilderness that I spoke on you, you're not going to see this place again. And right now, we just finished talking about how we don't know who we are. We haven't seen that place again. We haven't found ourselves back there again. Here we are walking around in America 400 years. And the Library of Congress has clear history on who we are. They got clear history on where the slaves came from, what cities, what towns. Meanwhile, we relying on Ancestry.com to tell us who we are. When you can go right to the Library of Congress and see we came from Fort Judah. We came from different areas in Africa that we had renamed with Hebrew names. It's a sad song that this is kept from us. Read on. This is biblical prophecy.
And
undeniable. And this is a King James Bible. I didn't write this. This was here long before I got here. And it'll be here long after I'm gone. So why is slavery written in a book that's been sitting around and in every church for the last 100 years and nobody has brought this out? Read on.
And there ye shall be sold.
There ye shall be sold. How did we get sold? How did we get into these plantations? I just came from, what is it, Stagsville? I was amazed. I'm from Stags. Break it down, somebody.
It's the largest plantation in North Carolina.
In Durham?
Yeah.
North Carolina? Like where we at?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I gotta check this out.
You gotta see this, man. And they said it's probably one of the largest plantations in the country, right here. And it was 50 square miles of plantation land. 50 square miles. I'm from the Bronx, man. I've seen many horrors. But when I walked into them slave quarters over there in Stagsville, man, I saw something I could not. I saw. I don't have to go to the penitentiary. I saw what life was like in them slave quarters. 10, 11 people living in a room, probably the size of this room. Is it like
a museum? Or
it's been taken over by the state.
What's it called?
It's called Stagsville Plantation. Every black person in America should treat themselves to some deep understanding of their history. We went up there, man, and saw that place. It was amazing to see and experience. We talking about houses built by slaves by hand. No nails. You know about that, huh? No nails. I mean, we talking about some black people survive. I'm talking about you living on 50 square miles, so you ain't running away. Right out front of your window is the land where you farm. This is all you do. You wake up in the morning with your 10, 11 family members. You walk out to the farm. You work till the sun go down. You come back in. No windows, barely blankets. You cooking food outside because there's so many of you in a room, you can't cook the food inside. It's insane, our history here. So when I read this scripture, and God said through Moses, a prophet of God, that you're going to go back into slavery if you don't obey me. You're going to go by ships, transatlantic slave trade. You're going to be sold. Everybody knows about the slave auction in all these major cities. If you go to Philadelphia, which was the capital at one time, right downtown Philadelphia is where the slave trade was taking over. For years in Baltimore Harbor, they had slave ships on display.
I'm from Baltimore. That's crazy.
So you know about the slave ships they used to have in the harbor.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the history is there and the biblical prophecy is here. All we got to do is see it. And it's also, here's the, you know, I don't know, being from the streets, right? I kind of always had an analytical mind about why something was. And if black people don't know who they are, any sensible brother should be saying, well, then who are we?
Yeah, exactly.
And trying to at least figure out what nobody knows.
Trying to figure
exactly. Out. I can't be a Muslim, like we talked about before. I can't be a Muslim. I can never, ever, ever be part of Islam because that's an Arab man's God. I could never be a Christian because that's a white man's God. I could never be a Buddhist because that's an Asian man's God. I could never be a Hinduist because that's another set of people. That's their God. So my question is, can I speak freely on this podcast? I ask this question to black people all the time. If you don't like what I'm saying, just answer me one question. Who is the nigger God? Because everybody else got their own God. So I want to know who is the God of niggas. Because that's the God I want to talk to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I found him right here. Telling us.
How you pronounce his name?
Yahweh in the Hebrew. There's a big misconception, like we mentioned earlier. The big misconception about God's name. People call him Yeshua, Yahweh, this and that. But what they're doing is they're taking the 4 syllables. They try to tell us that those 4 syllables was an abbreviation of God's name because they didn't want to pronounce God's name. That's a lie. These were holy scrolls. They put God's name in. What they're not telling us is true Hebrew language prior to the Babylonian Empire never had vowels in it. That's where the word barbarian comes from. Barbarians were native people who spoke languages that only had consonants in them, no vowels. Later on, after Babylon, the Babylonians added vowels into our Hebrew so that they could try to utilize our language because they couldn't speak it. So they turned around and tried to modernize it with vowels. That's where we get today's Yiddish from, today's Hebrew from. But that wasn't the original language. The original language, which we call the Lashawan Kodash, was the ancient Hebrew with no vowels. So if you take YHWH, take out, do not add vowels, you get Ya, Ha, Wa, and Ha. But the Ha on the end, you drop the A because it's the last consonant.
How you spell that? Because I gotta take notes.
No sweat.
You said how you spell his name?
YAHAWAH.
WAH. And that's pronounced Yahweh.
Wah.
Yahweh.
Yeah, it's all O's. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
It's all O's on the end. You get the U sounds like like Yeshua because they changed the Ah sound to a U sound. That was adding a vowel. That's not the original name. You know what I'm saying? So they added it. The same with way. There's no way in ancient Hebrew. There's no A sound. It's only an Ah sound. But they changed it into a vowel to bring in the A sound, which changed the name. So if you want to go back to the ancient biblical translation of God's name, it's Yahweh. Yahweh. And it's pronounced with like a breath of air coming out. Yahweh. You know what I mean? With the H on the end. That's the original ancient Hebrew. And see, by us dedicating ourselves to this Hebrew and to this knowledge and to this truth, we no longer can be fooled by preachers. You can't fool us no more. You can't fool us if you an imam, if you a preacher, no more, because we had to go learn it for ourselves. We went and figured it out and learned it for ourselves. Let me just finish this verse real quick if I could. It's Deuteronomy, and anybody could read this. This is the heartbreaker. That's why they don't want us to learn. Mm-hmm. You go back and read and dig this stuff up, you're going to be shocked. I was shocked at what's in the Bible. And the Bible is so different than today's society that most people read the Bible and say, I don't even understand what I'm reading. Most people don't even want to touch the Old Testament. And the only reason is because we live such a different life. That's why, man, when I learned this knowledge, I set out to build schools. And through the grace and mercy of the Lord, I done built schools all over the world now. Mm-hmm. And we building more and more and more. North Carolina, we got 3 now or 4? We got Durham, Raleigh, Fayetteville, and Goldsboro. Sure. So we building so that brothers and sisters could freely come in and learn about their own history, a black book, the Bible. Finish that for me,
And ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
God's words, not mine. He said, I'm going to sell you to your enemies. That's exactly what happened to us. Read on.
For bondmen.
Bondmen. Like we have bail bondsmen. Those were bondmen. That's a captive. If you get out on bail, you're not really free. You just out temporarily until, you understand, you go to court. That's right. Well, that's exactly what God said they was going to do with us. They're going to take us and make us bondmen. And that's what we are. We've been bondmen when we were in chains, and we still bondmen. You still got to go to work. Still got to pay your rent. Yeah. Still got to pay bills. You tired, it don't matter. You sick, it don't matter. Yeah. You got to go to work. And what does that mean? We bond men and bond women. We still in this captivity. Yeah. Was that the end of it?
No,
go ahead and finish it for me.
And bond woman, and no man shall buy you.
And this is a good heavy point. Meaning, what nation around the world said, you know what, United States, y'all got our brothers in your country. We want them back. We want our brothers to leave your country. This is your identity. Y'all come back. Ghana want our money. We hearing all this Ghana talk, building Ghana Hollywood. Oh, they want that cheddar. They want that cash. If you a millionaire, you go over there, they're going to say, oh, you the ancient king of Kumba Kumba. You a descendant of royalty.
In Ghana?
You go over there broke, and they're going to be like, nigga, when you leaving? You see what they did to Meek Mill?
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's buying us. Nobody's claiming us. We got to find our own identity back. And we starting right here in this Bible with black people. And I'm sorry if it offends people. But the truth is, if you lied for 100 years and I come tell the truth, don't be mad at me.
Right.
You the one lied for so long.
And we talked about that earlier, about how people always look at the one person that's going left versus everyone else that's going right. That one person going left is going to be seen as the bad person, or going to be seen as the person that's lying or not, is deceitful and things of that nature, when actually that one person that's going left could be the only person that knows that it's a slide down that way, and over here is going to be, the grass green or whatever you want to say, you know what I'm saying? So that's the concept that we're going with, is 9 times out of 10, the person that's saying something that everybody dislikes is the person that's speaking the truth.
And it's so biblical. I mean, you could go back so many biblical stories. Jesus Christ didn't go with the Sadducees and Pharisees. They turned on him. Moses didn't go with the priest of Pharaoh. He went out in the wilderness and found the Lord. Mm-hmm. Jeremiah separated himself in the wilderness from the other priests. I mean, there's so many stories. Daniel refused to go with the other priests to the sacrifice. Went the other direction. They turned around and tried to kill him behind it. You know what I mean? So many times. Abraham, God said, look, get away from your people. I'm going to send you out here in this wilderness, you and your son. So many times that one brother who went in a different direction happened to be right, not listening to the propaganda. And come to find out, we gained so much knowledge from it, so much wisdom from it. You know what I'm saying? Let me tell you, man, the greatest thing we could ever do for young brothers is to wake them up and turn them on to the Bible. And I know it sounds Christian-y and religiously, but I ain't talking about learning the Bible just to be singing and shouting in church. I'm talking about really learning our history and learning the history of what has happened to us as a people. I mean, we are a nightmare. We are the result of a horror story. This is a horror movie that we are living right now.
Every day.
2 million, right or wrong, 2 million brothers incarcerated in prison. 300,000 abortions, and politicians acting like, that's not genocide. We're not genociding anybody. A woman has a choice. That's genocide, man. You know, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be joking, but it's so ridiculous.
Yo, it's facts, though.
We're killing 300,000 of our babies. You know, man,
they could kill more, they would.
They would. Go to another country and kill 300,000 of their babies. You going to war. You going to war, and if they gonna turn it up on you. But us, we so destroyed. We so, you know what I mean? And so, like all the times that our people have fallen, God always called prophets. And they was never the popular cats. And them prophets came, and they woke brothers up, and they saved lives. And right now, we need people that's going to save lives. We need people that's going to break the spell up off of us.
What do you personally feel about Kanye West? Because that is a question that has lingered over my head. I really want to know, because was the things that he was saying, was it deceitful or was it majority true? Like, what's your opinion on that?
Okay, I can't say what was in Kanye West's heart. I know that, you know, celebrities and people wielding a lot of wealth and power, 9 out of 10 are doing that for their own means. Christ said this: it's easier to get a camel through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to come into the kingdom of heaven. You know what I mean? So for Kanye West, in all his wealth and splendor, you see he just got married to another white girl that looks just like the last white girl he had.
And to be an Israelite is crazy, right?
Yeah, it's against the law. It's against the scriptures to even do it. We wouldn't even allow you to do it. So he is still a captive of his wealth and his power and his lust and his devices. However, you know, it was still good that in his time of trouble, he turned to learning about him being an Israelite for strength, which was further proof for all brothers and sisters to realize that in that dark hour that you living in, learning the truth about the Bible and learning the truth about God's chosen people could give you the strength to fight such a mighty, mighty power against you. And so he was able to hold on to it for a minute, and that's good for him. However, the real measure is these brothers you see every day. I don't know how they do it, and I'm the one teaching them. And I don't know how they go out on the corners across this country, face down people that hate them, their own people that hate them. You know, black people see us on the corner, it's like we criminals, we drug dealers, we a gang, everything but what we really are, which are men of God trying to save their lives. But instead, we just looked at as a menace, because that's the brainwash. You put a black man in a black jacket, and he's a criminal. He's a gangster disciple or something, or some other gang member. But what black people and Latino people could learn from what we hand down could save their lives. And that's the most important thing, and that's why we fight for it every day. So I hope for the best for him and Kyrie, but I don't have hopes, and neither would I hang my hope on them becoming full-fledged Israelites because of what it is they're facing. But it's good that they mentioned
which is the influence of.
Sure. Yeah. And you know what? I went back and I looked at the tapes of Kanye West, right? And when you listen to those tapes of Kanye West, he gives you a real good insight on how much they psychologically control these artists and how their lives are almost not their own. How all the decisions are made by people around them. Like he was like a fish out of water once he broke away from them.
Yeah.
And that comes from, you know, that's how much power they putting on you, because of course you're a prized racehorse. You're right. Yep, you're right.
That's what it is. They give you the money, they give you the power, they give you the influence over the sheep,
There you go.
And then they expect you to drive, to push their narrative, what they want you to feed
That's right.
the public. And once when you say, no, I don't want to do that. Oh, they crucify him like publicly.
It was amazing.
And then we're just like, oh no, Kanye West is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, but at the end of the day, I'm not even looking at, you know, his religious beliefs. I'm looking at the pawn system that he's in. After he stopped pushing what they wanted him to push, they tried to wipe him out. If they could kill him, they would, and they probably will.
That's heavy. That's a heavy point that you bring in. It shows you that, and it shows you how much. You know, the Nazis did this. You know what the Nazis did? The Nazis took prominent Jews, and they photographed them in the hood, you know, the ghettos of Germany. And they photographed them to show that some Jews were living great. And they used it as propaganda to convince all the Jews that they weren't doing anything to them. That some Jews have become successful. So why are you acting like we Germans are doing anything to you when you have the same opportunity that these rich white Jews have? And so they used it to make people believe that anybody who says they are trying to destroy you, you'll say to yourself, well, that can't be true, because you got Kanye West, you got Michael Jordan, you got, you know, some of these other prominent figures, when in fact, they controlling them, and like you said, controlling the narrative, so that the minute they go off script, they lock the doors, pull the plug, and turn the lights off.
They trying to make that man go broke.
Yeah.
Because what? They gave him everything that he has, besides his supporters that happen to be black.
That's right.
You know, they put him on a pedestal.
That's right.
So as soon as he stopped pushing what they wanted to push, say, we can get another one of you.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Slavery comes in many forms. It ain't just chains. You know what I mean? And psychological slavery is worse than ever, because that's the hardest to break. I tell brothers and teach brothers and sisters this all the time. It's easier to get off of crack than to get off of Christianity. You give up crack and you know it's wrong, and you're looking at it and saying, I shouldn't be doing this, and you're watching yourself deteriorate. But if you're in a church that's teaching you about alternative lifestyles, and teaching you that Jesus loved everybody, and teaching you that we're all to come together as one, you on a different kind of drug. And that drug is hard to get off of, because you don't even know you're on it. So you need strong prophets of God to break the spell off of you, so you can really look at reality and see how you and yours are going down the drain. You know, man? So.
Shalom, Israel. And when I mean Israel, I'm talking about the black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. The Lord's 54th annual Passover is going down again this year, sundown, April 1st at 500 South Salisbury Street in Raleigh, North Carolina at the Downtown Conventional Center. It's got enough room for all of us. The Lord's 54th annual Passover.
Yeah, that's deep. You know what's crazy? You had spoke on something pertaining to blacks and Latinos, and I want to ask, what exactly is the Passover? You know, what is the Passover, and how important is it for black and Hispanic and Native Indians?
That's an excellent question. The Passover, when you go in the Bible, in the book of Exodus, really the entire book of Exodus is such an amazing, if not one of the most amazing books in the Bible. What's so amazing about it is it gives a really clear example of a people in captivity and the journey they took to get out of that captivity. This was done by the hand of God. And what's so amazing about it is today you have so many scholars and so many PhDs and educated people who look at the black plight and the black struggle and never equate it to the book of Exodus. Never equate it and say, maybe we should be looking at this book to see how we walk out of the captivity we're in. And this mindset, this struggle we're going through. So Moses did that by the hand of God and freed those people. And then the Lord made it a law. He said, from now on, you and your children and your children's children forever will hold this Passover, which was the feast that we had right before we left out of Egypt. Like right before we got out of there, the night before, God came to Moses and said, tell all the children of Israel to put goat's blood on their door, because I'm going to send a death angel through there. And that death angel is going to kill everybody who don't have the blood on their door. And so that night, and if you could put yourself in the position, imagine if you went to bed tonight and all of a sudden in the middle of the night you hear screaming and yelling. You look out your window and you realize people are screaming and yelling all across Durham and all across the nation. And they're all dying because their firstborn child is dropping dead. Could you imagine the death toll of that many babies dying, or that many young people dying? And that would be a lot. Well, that's what we experienced by the hand of God. God got so angry with the horrible slavery that we were in that he killed the firstborn of every single Egyptian. And they dropped dead at the same time. So the horror of the Egyptians was amazing. Once again, don't no preacher want to tell you this. He wants you to sing and be happy and just not tell you that this horrific, amazing story is right in the book of Exodus. And so God made it a law for us to do this every year, to remember what he did for two reasons. One, that we never forget that we only are delivered by the hand of God. And two, that we never forget that we are to never accept being second-class citizens under another nation. And so every year, for the last 54 years for us, since the time we discovered this truth, we've held this Passover. We've held a celebration of us becoming free from our captives. And it was so important to us because we are oppressed in America. So looking at what Moses did every year gives us hope that we will come together and eventually free ourselves from the madness that we're caught up into right now. And as a result, brothers and sisters from England, Toronto, Central America, South America, the Caribbean, all 50 states of the United States, Israelites are growing. We're exploding on the scene like crazy. We've been around since the 60s. A lot of people didn't know that, but we're exploding right now. And so we chose Raleigh this year to hold the Lord's Passover. April 1st, we'll be in the convention center. We're going to fill up the convention center with thousands of brothers and sisters. You're going to see a sight you've never seen before. You're going to see thousands of brothers and sisters in beautiful Israelite garments carrying out the same Passover tradition. We slaughtered a lamb, we roasted it with unleavened bread, and we ate it vigorously, fully armed. God made us do it with our weapons on us and everything. We'll have our shields and our swords and everything on us because that's how we were supposed to eat that Passover, in a rush. Because that next morning, when all the Egyptians lost their firstborn, they raced into the slave quarters and said, all of you come out, get out of Egypt. You're free. Get the hell out of here before God kills us all. And they freed us from that captivity. And so this Passover, it's such a reminder of us that this is not our end of our journey. We're not here to just get old and die. We're here because we went into captivity, because we disobeyed the very thing that I.S.U.P.K was reading. But this is not the end of our journey. As a people, we must carry our journey on. Joseph said this, and Joseph was Pharaoh's top man. He rose to prominence. You have to read about him in Genesis. And he told the children of Israel, he said, God is going to visit you. And God is going to take you out from this captivity. When he does, take my bones with you. And he was letting us know that this is not our end. This is not it all. We, in our minds, in our brainwashing, we think this is it. Life is it. You get your degree, you make your money, you buy a wonderful house, some cars, and that's it. Life. And that's life. When that's not life. You know what I mean? Every empire on this earth has fallen at some point. Every single one. There's never been an empire that has lasted the test of time. But the Lord is promising that Christ will return and build an empire called the Kingdom of Heaven. And that kingdom will last forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And brother, after living the life I've lived here, I trade up from being a drug dealer for a shot at that kingdom. I won't rob you no more for a shot at that kingdom. I won't do any crime that I normally would have fallen into. I'm not getting high again. Why? Because I'm going to get a shot at that kingdom. And if black men could see that there's more to life than this degraded oppression that's been put on us that even affects the wealthy. You know what I mean? How can you be Kanye West or Kyrie Irving earning multi-millions of dollars and you still got to watch your mouth? You still, boy, watch your mouth. Millionaire or no millionaire, watch your mouth. But freedom is worth more than that. I can come on this podcast and say whatever's in them scriptures and not have to feel anything. That's worth more. And it's worth more because we get a chance at a kingdom. And Lord knows, is the white man better than us? Is he the only one that can have wonderful cities like Durham with arenas in it and wealth and financing and good food?
I'm going to give you an example of that.
Please.
One of my favorite movies, Black Panther, Wakanda.
Save that for another one. Only for this reason. Only for this reason. Okay, since you asked.
Yeah,
I want to say
don't you asked my favorite movie. don't break that.
Sometimes I hate this job. You know what I'm saying? I love this job, but sometimes I gotta say stuff.
Tell me.
Here's why Black Panther, the movie, was such a horrible movie.
Okay.
It was such a horrible movie for this reason. Go back and look at the movie Black Panther with these eyes. The movie Black Panther, first of all, it's a propaganda movie. And I'll give you the full background in a second. But let me explain. Black Panther is a movie about Africans in a kingdom in Africa who disparagingly left blacks in America behind. The movie, as you watch it, depicts Africans as great and African Americans as horrible. Killmonger was a selfish, greedy, egotistical narcissist in that movie.
That's who he was.
He was
An American, Black American.
the agent that was sent there earlier that turned on him, who had Killmonger, his father, was a traitor.
Seen as a traitor, yeah.
Seen as a traitor. So we were depicted in that movie as filth. But the Africans were depicted as wise, intelligent, innovative, and great. And that is more propaganda. I'll tell you another movie that was just as evil that we love as black people. Coming to America.
Yeah.
We love that movie. But Coming to America was a propaganda movie that was horrible to us. It showed black men as Jerry curl wearing, selfish, greedy, narcissistic clowns. It showed us as courageless, dignified-less. It was they made the owner of the burger place a criminal, a plagiarist, a selfish, proud, ignorant fool. And so while showing the African artists as noble and
lifting them up.
Lifting them up. And now let me tell you why those movies came out. Because right now the United States of America has a problem. China is buying up and investing in Africa like it's going out of style. They're building factories, they're building roads, they're building power plants. They're spending billions in Africa. And it's a problem for America. It's going to tilt the economy. There's a lot of oil in Africa, in Nigeria, in other countries. So America has to balance it out. And the way to balance it out, the easiest way to balance it out, since they're brown-skinned people, is use us. Give them a path to step on us like they gave the Orientals. The whole idea that Asians are intelligent comes from the State Department. They propagandized that. I mean, it's a long story, but they taught us that. Asians are committing suicide in school today because they can't keep up with the propaganda that was handed to them that they are so intelligent. And there's all kinds of movies about it. And so this was done to destroy us. And here's what's so sad about it. We can't even recognize a black movie that degrades us. We don't even see it.
Nope.
Black people love the movie Black Panther.
Love it.
Think it's amazing. I understand. Like
But
I said, sometimes I got to give a little bad news.
I get your perception, though.
But as
and with your perception, if I may
Please.
interject, with that, I also seen that white Americans were villainized. If you notice, even in the new Black Panther, white Americans were villainized as still kill and destroy because they kept wanting to get the vibranium from Wakanda, which is Wakanda's treasure. You know.
Listen, that part is right. But but as a man of God that cares about black people, that doesn't matter to us. At least it shouldn't. Those are white people.
Right.
And everybody knows white people are colonizers. White people, everybody knows that by now. They done murdered the whole earth.
They even called them colonizers.
They even called them in the movie. But what about us? What about us? And let me tell you what I learned over years learning the truth. I learned to be just as selfish about us and our identity as everybody else is about them. Go ahead and, I don't know if you remember not too long ago when there was an Asian rapper who got criticized by several radio stations for his music. I forget the name of it.
An Asian rapper?
He was an Asian rapper. The Asian community went crazy. They went crazy. Go talk about another group. How many movies have we seen where some other ethnic group is talked about badly and there are protests and boycotts for that movie? Meanwhile, if you go to every single gangster movie by white Italians, which we love them all, every single one of them shames black people. Godfather, Goodfellas, take your pick. Every single one of them degrades us. Not one protest, not one boycott, not even a blip on the radar. In fact, most of us had them on CDs and DVDs,
and
we're selling them like hotcakes. And the problem is, if you believe in the Lord and you find out that blacks and Latinos are God's chosen people, you must fight against the psychological games that they put on us, because it's so important. And the minute we accept those things, we accept slavery in certain ways. We should be outraged at anybody making a movie of any kind that shows us in a bad light, that degrades our men, that makes us look like criminals. They're doing it on the 6 o'clock news, and it's working. You understand? Anybody that does that to us, it should be an outrage, but it's not. And so I understand, listen, theatrically, you know, DC Comics is no joke. They rolled out the dough on that movie. And it's production-wise, you know, Black Panther was amazing production-wise. You know what I mean? The special effects and all of that stuff was great. Wakanda Forever as well. And here's what was evil about Wakanda Forever. In the first movie, and I'm sure brothers can compare this, go watch a clip of the first movie. And the young lady who works in the lab, I forget her name, the sister of the Black Panther. Go look at her in the first movie, and go look at her in the second movie. In the second movie, they completely made her a dyke in that second movie. They totally changed her character from a feminine woman to a dyke. And they almost indirectly indicated the possibility of a lesbian relationship between the college student they were trying to save and her. And that's propaganda. And we shouldn't accept that. You want to argue with me that you're born a lesbian? I know differently. But don't tell me you're a lesbian because you've been brainwashed. Because somebody spent $1 billion to make a movie and push it around the world for some 13-year-old to decide one day she likes that character and now she wants to have a lesbian relationship. Then you ain't no lesbian. You've been brainwashed. You've been manipulated. Yes. And as men of God that love God's kingdom, how can we just sit back and not say nothing?
And applaud.
And applaud. Good point, God. Good point. We just can't do it. And that's why we looked at it angry and gang members and mad all the time, because the beauty of the Bible, the real beauty of the Bible, is that when you study it, you then begin to see what other people don't see. And your eyes start to be open. Like, I'm sitting up there watching Black Panther,
What's
like,
crazy is just this
what the hell?
conversation got me opening my eyes. Even that one scripture that you talked about, opened my eyes a little bit, you know what I'm saying? To make me want to look more into it.
oh man, I'm so glad to hear that, brother, because that's black people actually are afraid to study the Bible. I done got into conversations and black people get nervous. I started, well, let me show you something. Oh, no, I don't know. I don't want to go into that. You know what I mean? Preachers. I'm like, Reverend, listen, let me show you something. Now, brother, now hold it, brother. When they go to brother, then you know they don't want to hear what you're saying. They want that to stop. But we got to face it. You know what I mean? And we got to look. We got to now say, yo, wait a minute. We got to look at this. We can't, everything else we look at. Right? Everything they throw at us, we look at it. What is this? We size it up. We figure it out. We decide whether it's part of us or not. But this book right here, whoo, this book scared more people than anything.
Which book is that?
That one was
King
in the
James.
book of Deuteronomy. That's the King James Bible, the 1611 version. Because after 1611, the Roman Catholic Church took the Apocrypha out of the Bible.
Run that by me one more time. Which one is that?
It's the King James Version.
And what else?
1611. And it's important to get the King James Version and not the New King James Version. You don't want no other version but the King James Version. And the reason why,
And
the reason why is because King James was fighting the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church was trying to stop the Bible from being generally published because it was like their monopoly. Like they were able to control the people, receive the wealth.
You seen the Book of Eli?
The movie?
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
And so you know where I'm going with this.
Come on.
With how it was depicted in the movie that the book, which is the Bible,
Right.
was able to control the masses. The white man.
Yeah.
He wanted the book because he wanted to be able to inspire
Exactly.
people to do his will.
That's
And
right.
you know, when what's his name?
Denzel.
Denzel was protecting the book.
Right.
He was protecting the book, and that was his job because he knew the power of the book. Mind you, they were in poverty. They were starving, struggling, everything. They were killing each other. But the most powerful thing in their society was what? The Bible. It's because it has the power to control the masses. Now, mind you, I'm very open-minded, and just to let you know this, I don't even want to say my religion because I don't want to. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, listen,
You know what I'm saying?
it's up to you. You know what I'm saying?
All I'm going to say is I'm an open-minded individual. So I look at it from an eye that's not biased.
I understand.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I know that there are false prophets. There are people that will push a narrative that works the best for them.
Yeah.
It's preachers getting rich all over the world preaching the word.
Yeah. That's why
The word. Their word. It's not even the word of God.
That's right.
At that point, they've changed it so much. Like, this is why there's so many different versions of the Bible, because it's been rewritten. If Bob said that Susie did this, Susie going to say something else happened, and then the next person going to say something else happened. And that's why by the time you get to the Bible that they have now, it's not really the original one. I'm hoping the one that you just told me is.
It is the original translation. King James hired 50 scholars at the time to start a new work, which was to go back to the scrolls and rewrite everything down that was on these scrolls. He had to do it because, again, he was in a struggle for power over England and Scotland. And the Roman Catholic Church at the time was the most powerful entity in Europe.
I'm a Catholic.
I feel you.
Yeah.
You know, man, ain't nothing wrong with that, brother, in this respect.
Yeah.
We all grew up in different religions and came into different religions. My grandmother was a Catholic. My mother was a Lutheran. I had all kinds of religious people in my family. But when I went and looked in these scriptures for myself, I didn't find Lutheran. I didn't find Catholic. I didn't find Jehovah's Witness. I didn't find any of those things. And I realized that God never gave man a religion. He gave men laws. And those are what we should have been following. And it is the religions that began to take control of us and captivate us And in fact, we began to lose the understanding of the Bible. That's how come we got, rich preachers today, because they're in religions that control the masses instead of opening the scriptures. Like, you go to church and learn hours and hours about songs, but ain't nobody breaking these down.
Yeah,
ain't nobody saying this is what this verse means. This is what the translation of that means. And see, King James saw that. And by the way, King James was a black man. That's another fact that's not taught. So was William Shakespeare. Yeah, so was William Shakespeare. These were black men.
William Shakespeare.
William Shakespeare was a black man. He started the Blackfriar Theater. I'll go a couple more for you. A lot of people don't know that Socrates was a black man. Plato was a black man. There's a lot of prominent black men. The ruler of the Roman Empire in 323 AD, Septimius Severus, the emperor, was a brother. You know what I mean? Which shouldn't be a surprise, because so many black men rise in every empire. Every empire we in, we rise. We number one in basketball, football, baseball. We rising into politics. Everything we get into, we go to the top. You know what I mean? And everybody starts following us. Which is there you go. Which is why it's so difficult for them to keep us enslaved, and why they work so hard at it. Christ said, "Ye are the salt of the earth. If ye have no Savior, what good are you?" And if you are salt, what good is salt if it don't taste like salt? It's useless. It might as well be sand. So Christ said, we're that salt. And then season any food and don't use salt. It's going to be bland. I don't care what other seasoning you put with it. You don't put no salt in it.
Come on now.
You ain't got nothing.
I also heard a while ago, and you can break this down if you know a little bit more about it, but even with seasonings, it's a reason why white people don't really season their food, because at once upon a time, spices were a delicacy, and they became so used, and people in poverty were able to get their hands on it, so they switched the narrative once again. Say, we don't use spices, we like our food exactly how it comes. You know what I'm saying? Which is something that a lot of white people might not know. Why don't they, season their food like that, or whatever the case may be? But in reality, it's another form of oppression.
That's right. You're absolutely right. And coming out of them caves, it sure wasn't salt no food. They was up in them caves. They was eating whatever they killed right there, skin and all. And so they didn't spice it up. We put all the spice and everything in this.
That's why I like it like that.
You know what I'm saying?
They eat their food.
That's right. And so our time now, it's time for us to find out who we are. And it is the greatest threat for them in the world. Which is why they came down on those brothers so hard. Because for us to find out our identity will shock the world. It's exactly what Moses did. Moses came back, and you read the story, and he went to the children of Israel. He even said to God, he said, listen, if I go back and tell them to follow you, they're going to ask me, who are you? They're going to ask me, what's your name? Which shows you we didn't know about God because we have been in captivity so long. And here we are again in America. And if you go back and look at Egypt, Egypt had hundreds of gods. They were worshiping baboons, scarabs, beetles, all kinds of gods they had.
Thou shalt not have strange gods before me.
There you go. And look at America. Every religion on earth is represented here. We back in that same situation. And just like back then, Moses had to present God to us for us to start to get serious about who we are and to come out of captivity. The same has to happen now. Our people have to become awakened to who we are. And then when we become awakened to who we are, guess what? Nobody will be able to just easily divide us anymore. Nobody will be able to separate us anymore. You won't be able to give us two different religions and have us fighting against each other. You won't be able to give us two different ideologies and have us fighting against each other. We'll have one, and we'll all go with that one, and there'll be no conflict with us. And that's why I love the Israelite school of UPK. We got rules, and everybody follows the same rules. There ain't no two religions here, ain't no divisions here, ain't no none of that. We got clear rules on how to live. And those rules are carried out from young to old, and it makes it streamlined for us to do the things that we do. And Lord knows blacks and Latinos need that bad. We're living in chaos. We're living in 1,000 different ideologies. You know what I'm saying? So the Passover, April 1st,
Yeah, it is. I hope y'all
Raleigh
listening.
Convention Center. We gonna turn it up. We got all
Yes,
kind of
sir.
activities for the entire week. And so anybody that wants to know can go to ISUPK.com. That's ISUPK.com. I got 50,000 videos on my website.
50,000.
50,000 from all over the world about Israelite teaching. It's on.
It's on. It's on. What? Run that Bronx slang for me one more time.
Oh,
run
okay.
that.
All right.
What you say?
Castle Hill.
Castle Hill.
Never ran,
Never ran.
never will.
And never will, baby. Let's go. Listen, we got Commander General Yohanna in the building right now, man. Thank you so much for coming out.
Man,
Big
thank
shout
you
out
so
to the
much,
Israelites in the building, man. It's your boy, Party Boy. Big shout out to CEO Tim. We in the building. Topic 94. What up? We out, man.
Shalom, Israel. And when I mean Israel, I'm talking about the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. The Lord's 54th annual Passover is going down again this year, sundown, April 1st at 500 South Salisbury Street in Raleigh, North Carolina at the Downtown Conventional Center. It's got enough room for all of us. The Lord's 54th annual Passover. Last year, brothers and sisters showed up from all over the world, rocking ancient garments and glorious apparel in order to serve the Most High in Christ. Now, it's that time again. Commander General Yohanna is putting out the decree for all brothers and sisters to show up sundown, April 1st in Raleigh, North Carolina. Join us at the Sheridan in Raleigh, the hotel right downtown. It's at 421 South Salisbury. The Passover is right up the block at the convention center, literally within walking distance. Make sure you pull up. Make sure that you do your due diligence because rooms are going fast and they are limited this weekend. You understand? We have months in advance of preparation. Do not wait till the last minute to get your room. The Lord's 54th annual Passover, Saturday, April 1st in Raleigh, North Carolina. Join us there.
It's about time, sending curses to them enemies.